Hi, Professor. Good afternoon.
Hello.
Hi.
How you doing?
Doing good. I just came. How are you?
Yeah, I'm okay. I'm a little tired, but that's not good, not bad. That's normal, but I'm okay.
Okay. Good,
Yeah.
good.
I want to see how all of you guys are after submitting your first draft here. I was looking at some of the people who sent their stuff in early. I think people did very well.
Mm.
Here comes some more folks. Andre's coming in, Galina's coming in. So we'll wait a couple minutes, but good to see you
Hello, Jeff.
guys. Hi.
How are you today?
I'm okay. I'm tired, but I'm still good.
The same.
This, it happens. Tired happens with online pandemic week 5. It's normal.
Yeah, but still it's good.
Yeah. I said I was looking at some of the people's first drafts for the project. So that was fun. It looks like people did pretty well. I'm very pleased. So that's good.
Did you see my project?
I'm not sure. I don't think so. I think mostly I remember women's names, if I'm honest, Andre. I just looked at it for like 15, 20 minutes before class started. I was just curious.
That's the problem. I make my project yesterday at night, so not make send to you.
Ah, okay. That's great. I love it. I think
It always
not
occurs.
it's good.
I always make my homework uh, in yesterday before the lesson starts.
I think that's a good idea. If you can, of course. I think I think it can lower the stress level a lot if you can do it. Yeah. Because when you wake up, Serge is here. Hey, Serge.
Hello.
Sandy's here. Hi, you guys. So like usual, we'll wait about 2 more minutes, then we'll get going for today. I'll finish completely with language power tutorial 2, and then we'll get to introduce phrases and clauses, and because we talked about that a little bit, and I asked you to practice it a little bit for the first assignment, but we'll really start to see. This is really where it starts to get a little less. Just not every single detail. I think I was talking to Veronica, she's here too, about sometimes, you can't, when you're writing in college, you can't try to identify the part of speech for every word if you're writing a 5-page paper, So we do this for a couple weeks at the beginning, and then we sort of see how longer sentences come together instead of going word for word. Al's here. Hi, Val. Hey, everybody is coming in.
Professor.
Got a smaller group today.
Everybody is tired for a lot of
I
homework.
know. It feels that way. It does feel that way. I know the 1 week that we have something due in this class after, everyone's like, oh my God, no more, no more. Yeah, I get it. My image for the semester is always like a roller coaster, Some weeks you're going up and you have energy, and other weeks it's going down, and then another week it's
Yes.
going up. It's
That's
normal.
what I feel.
It's like life.
And also today's morning was very, very cold, so yeah.
It's true. I agree. All the things around us, our environment, all that stuff definitely affects. I totally agree. I totally agree. I think Americans don't believe that like the weather and things affect your, no matter what, like power through. But no, I think, sun and temperature, all that stuff affects our bodies.
You should meet my dad. He's like nature prognosis.
I love it. I think, yeah, now this is not teaching anything now, but my opinion, I do think Americans, a lot of places too in Europe, and if you're in big cities or countries with money, I think people forget that we live in a world. Like we live in a kind of wild planet. We forget that, I think. Although you see what happens in Texas this week and you're like, oh yeah, no, humans can't really control that much stuff, can they? All right, let's get going. We got a few other people here. I saw your videos are off, and that's all good. But Circle M, good to see you. Sturgis here too. Hugh's here. So Fujia, hi you guys. Good to see your name. Say Fujia.
Thank you. How are you doing, guys?
Of course. Hey,
Good, thank you.
yeah, everybody kind of said we're good but tired. And that's okay. That's normal. All right. Well, it is lovely, wonderful to see you all on Wednesday, February 17th. Today, we're going to finish with this PowerPoint, which was sort of everything from Language Power Tutorial 2. LPT2 is the most dense, I would say, because it has so much information in only a few little pages. So we're going to finish up with LPT2 by talking about verbs today. And then I'm going to sort of introduce LPT3 and tell you what's coming up next week. So we talked all about the characteristics of subjects, and that means that we had to talk about nouns and noun phrases. So hopefully all of this looks familiar. Either you were here with us in the Zoom last week or you watched the YouTube. So I don't have too much to say about subjects and nouns. If you're still confused, well, I'll find out when I grade your grammar writing 1 project. But I want to move on to verbs. I want to move on to verbs and then start to talk about phrases and clauses. So again, this is sort of a longer review of information that's in LPT2. But remember, a principle just means a rule that helps you know what's right and wrong about something. So principles of verbs, that's what we're going to review here at the beginning. Excuse me. So in general, verbs describe the action in a sentence, or as we're going to find out here, as Veronica found out in lab yesterday, or verbs can describe the state of being. And we'll look at examples, but that means if I say something like, I am tired, okay, I am the subject, am is the verb, but tired is an adjective, right? Tired isn't an object. Tired is a word to describe me, the subject of the sentence. But am I really doing anything? It's not like I talk or I walk, I give, right? I'm using the be verb to describe a state of being. If you've ever taken another grammar class, maybe you've heard of this list of verbs called stative verbs. These are not action verbs, these are stative verbs. These are verbs like feel and seem, right? So hopefully we'll see examples of this, but hopefully you can already sort of understand the difference between I talked to my mom and I feel tired. I mean, I'm not actually like feeling anything when I'm tired, right? I'm sort of talking about my state of being. So verbs, therefore, because we have verbs to talk about action, right? Stuff that happens in the real world, and we have verbs that talk about our state of being, verbs can either be action verbs or linking verbs. And knowing which type of verb you're using in a sentence can really help you understand how the parts of speech come together. So that's my short introduction, and we'll look at some details and examples of this. So first, principle of verbs. So we'll talk more about action and linking verbs in a second here, but the first principle has to do with what we are used to studying in a grammar class, usually, which is tense, 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 verbs and tenses. So verbs have a base form that is unmarked, right? That's just something like go, see, rebuild, nourish. This can be a simple verb like talk. It can be a more complex, academic verb, like I don't know, devolve or revolve, or it doesn't matter what the meaning of the word is. The point is there's the form of the verb that has no change to it, right? It's the base form, unmarked form of the verb. Now, the base form of the verb can be marked for tense, number, and status. So that means when you have this unmarked base form, see, that means we can mark it. We can add things to it to change the meaning and the grammar of the sentence. And there are many irregular verbs in English. So we have things like people were living longer. Okay, so when I say that verbs get marked to give meaning, here I'm saying when we say were, that means plural, right? If it was singular, I'd say people, well, he was, but were is the verb being marked for plural person. Were is also marking this verb here for the past, And then on the verb here, the main verb live, we get ing for continuous or progressive, right? So this example, people were living longer, we can say that this verb has been marked, right? It went from just live to we're living together to indicate plural subject, past tense, and continuous state of action. Or people are living longer. Okay, people are, we have marked for plural tense. We have, marked for plural subject. We have present tense, are instead of were. And we also have, again, continuous. Or she is living longer. Is an auxiliary. It's marked for singular. Living, is also marks the present tense. And we have ing at the end of the main verb to mark this for continuous tense. Romans lived longer. Here we have lived. It's a plural verb. It's in the past tense. It's not continuous, right? This is the simple past tense. And again, all of this is going to be familiar from looking at the sentences that you wrote and you do write. Again, the past continuous, the simple past, irregular past tense verbs. These are things that you all know and use and practice already. What, again, I like about this book is it asks you to think about some of those rules in a different way, right? So instead of going, past tense means ed, you understand ed is a way to mark these verbs for tense, right? But we mark verbs. You could mark, you could also change it to, you could, instead of saying mark, you could say change it or code it, right? What we're doing is we're adding some letters or some information to the base form of the verb to give us more information. And like I said, number, so singular or plural, tense, past, present, or future, and status. Usually this means continuous or not continuous, or perfect tense or not perfect aspect. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Good. Stop me if it doesn't before I move on. Cool.
Jeff, how about future form? If we put future like people will live longer or people will live in, it
Yep.
makes sense or not?
Yep.
So it
Absolutely
will
does
be
make sense. And let's do that example. I've got another example on the next page, but I think examples that come from students are always the best ones. Great. Let's say we will live longer. Now tell me, so we will live longer. Is this indicating
plural.
plural or singular?
Plural.
Plural.
And what tense?
Future.
Ooh, sorry. I asked the question and then I just started giving you the answer before I let you answer. Forgive me. Yeah, we're marking this for future tense because of this lovely little auxiliary, right?
Mhm.
Just like we're marking the tense here, we're marking tense by, again, the auxiliary. But here we're marking tense with ed, right? So again, we mark, this is what I mean. Whatever verb tense you are studying, you're, like I said, in a traditional grammar class, you might be like, okay, now we're going to learn how to make the past progressive. Okay, that's fine. But I want you to understand that living, you say, I am living, and that's the present continuous. I say, she was living, and that's the past continuous. And the thing that's indicating tense there is not actually the ing on the verb, right? It's the auxiliary. The auxiliary is indicating the tense for that sentence. Does that make sense, Andre?
Yes, yes.
Okay, good. And you're driving, so don't, or whatever you're doing, but only answer if it's safe, okay? Anybody else, does this make sense?
Teacher, I have a question.
Let's like,
We will live
please.
longer. We will live longer is
Yep.
non-continuous, just
Thank you. Yes.
simple.
That's right. We could just say, and again, I don't want you to worry too much about this status or it doesn't really matter. It just means, is it continuous or one of the perfect tenses, Amanda? That's all you need to think about for now. Is it an ing or is it like I have seen? Is it a present perfect, a past perfect? So that's all I mean by continuous or non-continuous. And as long as you understand the difference between we will live longer and, so let's do this one. We will be living longer, plural again, same subject, future again, but this time,
Continuous.
right? And here we have will is indicating the future tense, right? Will and future go together. Let's see if I could do my color coordination like usual here. Okay, let's say will is telling us future, right? And then the be, it's actually here, it's the be, and I could even include the
Continuous.
ing, right? Exactly right,
Continuous.
Hugh. Exactly right, Hugh. To indicate the continuous, right? And plural, we don't really have a big clue about singular or plural on the verb itself here, right? Because how we know that this is plural is the subject. But that is different, you guys, from how about something as simple as, oh, I changed the formatting there. I'll fix it, hold on. She lives longer. Actually, let's even just say, we don't know. Let's imagine we don't know the subject of this clause.
Singular.
We just have lives longer. Is this singular or plural?
Singular.
Singular.
Yes. How do we know?
Because
How
it's
do we know?
S.
after verb life.
That's you guys are making me very, very happy. And what tense?
The
Not
Present.
Simple
Present.
present.
Simple present tense. And
Simple, yeah.
continuous or not
not
continuous?
continuous.
Not continuous.
Non-continuous.
Good. And that's what I mean up on this slide up here where I say base form can be marked for number, tense, or status. I want you to understand and see how here we know the subject, singular or plural, because of the S, right? But again, this is different for different verb tenses, as you can see here, right? Sometimes singular or plural is not marked on the verb. Sometimes it is. It just depends on what tense you're using. If you're in this class with me, you already know by now, present simple, third person singular. How do we mark singular or plural? Put an S on the end of the verb, right? He, she, put an S on the end, and that's how we mark it for singular or plural. So that's how we do it with the present simple. With other tenses, we mark plural or singular in different ways. Does that make sense?
Yes.
This.
Yes.
Love it. Great. And like I said, all of this is stuff you've already studied. I think what I love about this book and what I love about teaching this class is just asking you to see it from a different perspective or think about it in a little bit different way. So for example, I do not want to go. Here we have want is in the base form. And on the auxiliaries, this is why students, I think why some of these verb tenses are so hard for you guys. It's not just that you have to learn the rule. Like, okay, to make the present perfect, I need to say have been. I need have plus the past participle. Well, that's not the case because we are giving a lot of information for the grammar of the sentence on the auxiliaries, not even on the main verb, right? I think it's another reason students love the continuous tense because it's like, okay, just put ing on the main verb and we're good. I don't have to worry about anything else, right? But in a very short sentence like I do not want to go, right? I've got want in the base form, but I have my auxiliary verb here is marking singular person, present tense, not continuous, and it's marking this sentence as a negative sentence or negation, right? So as you see here, auxiliary verbs can mark negation as well as number, tense, status, etc. Right? So again, I think all of you know how to say I do not want to go or I don't want to go, right? Again, what I'm asking you to just see is in the grammar of a sentence, these auxiliaries can give a lot of information about the grammar in that sentence. And we can look at some more examples. So for example, what did I do here? Oh, let's just do these together. I came up with these. I'm trying to think, wait, what is the information I was trying to convey here? So let's do this. Students went to the grocery store. Let's do the same thing. Singular, let's do singular, plural,
It's plural.
tense,
Plural.
and continuous. Good. Plural.
Plural.
And what tense?
Went past simple.
Good. I love it. We can even, and I love it. We could do simple, we could be specific, but even let's just say past, present, or future. And continuous, not continuous.
Not
Uh,
continuous.
Not continuous.
Great. How about the next one? She went to the grocery store.
Singular.
Singular.
Yep,
Past.
yep.
Past non-continuous.
Thank you. This one?
Plural.
Students will
Plural.
go.
Plural.
Future.
Future.
Future. Non-continuous.
Not continuous.
Love it. How about this one?
Plural.
Plural.
Plural. Argo in present.
Present.
Continuous.
Continuous.
Well,
Continuous.
Continuous.
finish the
Continuous.
sentence. Students are going to the store tomorrow.
Future.
Future.
Eso, remember, will is one way to make the future tense in English, but to be going to is the other way that we make the future tense, right?
And also tomorrow.
I know. Well, yeah. Again, like so many other languages help make this so much easier where tomorrow is all you need and then everyone understands future. But yeah, I know.
Professor,
Yes,
I have a
please.
question.
Please.
For are going to, we can use the near future, not continuous. We can think like this. We can think like
Yeah.
that. Near
I
future, we
don't,
can be planned already. It's just near future. Just happen. Just will happen the near future or tomorrow.
it's a
Not
good
continuous.
question.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good question. So, well, that's working is a bad example. How about this one, Hugh, to your example? In 2 years, we will be living in Arizona. Actually, I have will here. I don't want will. Bad example, bad teacher example. How about this one? We are going to Disneyland next year. Does that look weird to you, Hugh, or does that look weird to anybody else?
Plural.
No, it's not weird. It's
I don't think it's weird
plural.
either. And now
That
here's
bland.
my other question.
That plan, or going to that plan. With my plan.
Hugh is a very good student because he's asking the rule that is often taught in grammar classes that, if I'm honest with you, I don't think it's really how we talk. We are going to Disneyland next year. We will go to Disneyland next year.
No,
Is
no
one of
plan. Maybe
one
we
of
will
these-
go. Yeah, maybe you go.
Going to is a plan, but will is not. It's predicate, like maybe we go or no.
Will is for
I
sure.
guess.
Will is
I guess.
no, it's something that I
No,
will do.
I'm just listening to you and Sapira and Veronica. I know that many grammar textbooks tell you that will is supposed to mean yes, we will do it. It is certain. But if I
For
use
sure.
the present continuous to talk about the future, then it's not as certain. And I'm telling you, at least in California, I don't even think there's a difference, really. I really think we are going to Disneyland next year. We will go to Disneyland next year. I think the meaning is exactly the same. To my California ears, the meaning is exactly the same. And I always tell
So
students,
both is
I know what
correct
student,
for sure.
both are definitely
are
correct.
correct.
Especially in this class. If you're in this class for a grade, and if you're talking to a Californian in Sacramento, 100% both are correct. I think that the language is actually moving towards the ing form. I think more in my lifetime, I feel like I hear people saying, we are going next year. In 3 years, we're going to go to Disneyland. I think an ESL textbook would tell you, ooh, that, or even the other way. In 3 years, I'm going to type now how people actually talk. To me, in 3 years, we're going to go to Disneyland.
No.
And I'll even say the same thing. No, I think these are both correct. And I think you're going to hear
Yeah.
most people in California talk like this. Now, of course, in a paper for this class or any other class, you're never going to write gonna, but I think especially in a reading and writing class, I'm pretty clear about teaching you like academic English. But in a grammar class like this, I want you guys to actually see the language, how you're going to hear it used, how you're going to hear it used in Sacramento, in California. And I'm telling you, in 3 years, we're going to go to Disneyland. That is totally normal. I think that still could be the person's plan. And I don't think that you don't need to think like, oh, that person really, they're not going to go. They're not certain because they didn't use the word will. That's really not how we talk. That's really, really not how we talk. So Hugh, I know I just made life more difficult. I didn't really answer your question. I think so there's two things. One is hopefully the grammar here is clear. Whether you say we're gonna go or we will go, you're still marking the verb for the future tense. That's the most important thing for this class. And then the second thing is, yeah, are there times when you use will instead of are going to? Yes, I do think there are, but I think the difference between these two is getting smaller and smaller in real life. Make sense?
So we're gonna use in writing. So we're gonna use the gonna go in writing.
No, never write what I just wrote. Never wrote for a college paper. You could text when you're texting for sure, but at least I'll say a never rule for a college class. Never write gonna. Always write going to. But also same thing when you're speaking. If you're at Starbucks or whatever in California, don't say gonna though, right? If you say, well, tomorrow I am going to go, you're gonna sound like like a British school teacher or something. Like in real life at Starbucks, right? It's gonna, right? That's how we actually talk. So okay, but I think this makes sense, right? The idea that why do we change verbs? It's not just to make your life hard. It's not just to make life hard for language learners, right? We change these verbs to indicate singular or plural, tense, and aspect, and sometimes negative or not negative, right? Or when we talk about modals, auxiliaries can give us even more information about a sentence.
I have a question.
I'm ready.
Okay.
Circle in, please.
Yeah, I'm so confused. Like last semester, I learned about the future. So when we use like will, it's not exactly plan. Maybe. So when we say like we are going to in Disneyland next year, that's for sure we have to go. We already have plan. But when we say we will go to Disneyland next year, maybe we're not, but just like optional. We're not sure.
I don't agree with that rule. I don't think that's how we actually talk. By the way, though, because both are correct, Circle M, you can say either one. You can use will or going to, and people in California will understand exactly what you're talking about. I just think that this rule from ESL textbooks is wrong.
Okay.
I don't think it's how we actually talk.
Okay. Thank you.
And on that, but for this class, Circle M, I'll never test you on it, by the way. Like you wanted to learn this rule in G50 because you were going to take a test, right? Like, oh, is this certain or not certain? Should I use will? I don't, in this class, that's not the point. So whatever you learned last semester, I don't want you to feel like, oh my God, Jeff is like making me forget everything I studied. So you can use whichever one you want. I'm just telling you in real life in California, it's not really like that.
Okay. Thank
Yeah, of course. Poor Circle M. She's like, I'm confused. That's what I do, is just confuse people. Okay. Any other questions about principle one? I think we get it, right? Singular, plural, tense, and aspect, continuous or not continuous. So let's look at the second principle and we'll keep practicing here. Principle number 2. So verb phrases, which again, we're going to introduce today and you're going to get a lot more about in LPT3. Verb phrases may include other parts of speech. And as we've already talked about, they very often contain auxiliaries. Now, auxiliaries, which include modals, remember modals, all modals are auxiliaries. Auxiliaries can indicate, can show, can tell, can say, negation, completion, is it done or not done? Probability, will it happen, will it not happen? How likely is it to happen? Now, auxiliary verbs are important not just because they give us all of that information, but they are also very important for subject-verb agreement. And if, like Circulem, you were in a grammar class last semester, or you've taken a writing class, I am certain a teacher said, "Oh, you've got a subject-verb agreement error," right? This is a major grammar error that many teachers are concerned about. So auxiliary verbs are really important for subject-verb agreement, and we'll see some examples of that. Auxiliaries may also stand in for an implied verb, and look at these example sentences here. So she did not tell me that she was going to call you. Have you ever been to San Francisco? Let's look at just this one. Well, let's do this one. So did not tell me that she was going to call you. How about let's just say this. She did not tell me. What's the verb in that phrase?
Tell.
Good. Yep. And actually, this is a clause. Forgive me, you guys. So she did not tell me. Now, what's did giving me? Remember, we are using auxiliaries to mark these verbs for singular, plural, tense, and aspect. So what am I marking did here?
Auxiliary.
Both did is definitely an auxiliary, but what information is it giving me? Singular, plural, tense, or aspect?
Singular.
Maybe.
As.
I think there's one. Let me ask this. What tense is this clause in? She did not tell me. What verb tense is this in? Hugh says past. How do we know past?
Did.
Which word tells us
Auxiliary
Did.
S.
Did.
Oh, S. That's what I'm talking about, right? This here did the auxiliary. Look at all the work that this little auxiliary is doing. This auxiliary is actually telling us the tense, right? And then not is hopefully obviously talking about this is where we get negation, right? So I don't think that in this simple clause, let's even just say she did. Let's just finish the sentence here. Actually, I like making it short.
Back.
She did not tell me. One clause. It's a simple sentence. Did marks tense, not marks negation. Tell is the verb. So actually, we don't have singular or plural marked on the verb. We only know singular or plural from the subject in this example, right? So the auxiliary marks the tense, not marks negation. Tell is the main verb. Does that make sense? Good. Let's look at the next one. Have you ever been to San Francisco? I should put a question mark here. What's the verb?
Been.
Been.
Thank you. Yep. So, what color should I make the verb here? What did I do on the other side? Verbs are red in my. Usually I do verbs red. Yeah. Okay. Verb is red. Now we have a question here. So where's the subject?
You.
Thank you. Great. Now we've got have and ever, right? We've got some other stuff going on here. So have ever been to San Francisco? Well, ever maybe. I don't even want to talk about ever right now. Let's just talk about have. What's going on here?
Auxiliary.
Auxiliary.
Have is definitely an auxiliary. And what is it marking? Is it marking tense? Is it marking aspect? What's it marking?
Yes.
What tense is this verb? What tense is this verb?
Present
Perfect.
Present.
perfect.
That's right. And so we know that this is the present tense because have is in the present, right? And it's also marking, so we could say continuous or not continuous. We could also say perfect or not perfect tense, right? Because, right, we could say have been, had been, will have been. You'll get to see a little bit of the future perfect later in the semester. But even if you've never practiced that, you can see that have is indicating not just the tense, but also what we're calling this perfect aspect. And again, I'm never going to test you on aspect. It doesn't matter in this class, but you see that we use have in the same way we use ing, right? They're giving us information about the status of a thing, right? Is it still ongoing? Or again, we use the perfect tenses to indicate something started at a certain point, continued over time, And then maybe it's still happening now. Maybe it will still be happening in the future, whatever, right? But here, have is marking both the tense, present perfect, the present tense and this perfect status, perfect aspect. Does that make sense? Weird and different, but does it make a little bit of sense? I'm going to call these blue. Now, how about in this sentence down here? I said also, remember, the auxiliary can stand in for an implied verb, just like implied subjects. So in this sentence, have you ever been to San Francisco? Yes, I have. What's the verb in this sentence? Yes, I have.
Been.
Yes, thank you, Hugh. Yeah. Been is the implied verb, just like the implied subject of turn on the TV, go to sleep, right? You are the implied subject. So the verb here is implied. Have is still an auxiliary. So I should make it blue. Cool. How about the next one? I might buy a new laptop next year, but I'm not sure. And again, let's not even worry about this yet until the end of the lesson today. I might buy a new laptop. What is the verb?
Bye.
By.
Oh, forgive me. And so where's our auxiliary in this example sentence?
Might.
Modal.
And what is it?
Or this
Good. It's a modal. And what is it telling us? What information is it giving us?
Possibility.
Thank you. I was going to say, if you look up at possibility, probability, absolutely. Remember, auxiliaries, we use them to indicate negation, completion, probability, possibility. Yes. Right? So here I'm using might to say maybe yes, maybe no. The auxiliary is not giving me the tense. The auxiliary is giving me information about the possibility. And last example on this slide, she has given me a lot of important information. She has given me a lot of important information. What's the verb?
giving.
Given.
Give.
And where's the auxiliary?
As.
Has.
And what information is the auxiliary giving me?
Completion.
Remember,
Completion
singular,
of
plural,
Important information.
tense.
Singular.
Yes,
Tense.
Present perfect.
definitely important information.
Time. Present perfect.
Yep. Oh, let me ask this way. Is it giving me singular or plural?
Singular.
Singular.
It is giving me right, because we only use has when we're using he, she, it, right? So we get, in this example, this gives us singular. Is it giving us tense?
Yes.
Present perfect.
Present.
Yep, present in this case. And is it giving us aspect? Perfect aspect.
Yeah.
So just from this one, in this sentence, right, the auxiliary is giving us, it's coded, it's changed for singular, present tense, and it also is indicating to us the
Perfect.
perfect aspect, right? So have been, had been, will have been, all that stuff. And the verb here is giving us, the meaning of the main verb. It tells us what action is actually happening, right?
Oh, what's aspect?
It's so weird. It just I think the only thing that you need to think about is aspect means, that's why I like to say status to it means, is it totally done or not totally done, right? So ing, it's not totally done. The present perfect or the past perfect, it's not totally done, right? And that's not a perfect way to explain it. That's not a perfect way to explain it, either, because it's not that easy. But for us at 310, even 320, it doesn't really matter. Like all that matters is that you guys see that there is a difference between the simple present tense and the present perfect tense, right? And you already know that because you've learned how to make the present perfect tense. What I'm trying to show you is, like I said, English doesn't make you use have, it doesn't make you say have given just to be cruel, right? That have is important. It's there to give us information about the singular, plural, about tense, and also about this, is it totally finished yet, right? So that's what aspect means. It's kind of an abstract idea. That's why I don't stress you guys out too much about it. I think that's the best way to think about it for this class, right? Is it totally done? Or if you're talking about the past, was it totally done at that time, right? Or if you're talking about the future, will it be totally done in the future? That's kind of what aspect means, Sapida.
Thank you.
So it's a good,
But how
question.
can we know about this aspect in the future if we didn't know it done or not? Because it's not going up.
That is a great question for you as a writer, Andre. My hope, my dream is that after we keep studying this, when you read this or when you hear someone say it, it will be clear like, that you'll understand that there can be a richer meaning about these future tenses, right? So like, hold on. So this is where I'm sort of giving you a preview of many weeks in the future here, Andre, but just to show you your question. This sentence, this is the future perfect progressive. Right, by this time next year, I will have been studying English for 10 years. So you're right. I honestly, Americans don't actually talk this way, really. So one thing, don't feel bad. But no one in this class is probably making sentences like this very often. And I'm not going to force you to write sentences like this. But what I hope, Andre, is that when you see this, or this would be something you read. Again, people don't really talk like this. But if you see this in a book, or if you see this in another class, you'll start to understand, okay, there's a lot going on in this verb tense. Will is being coded for the future. Have is being coded for, well, have been studying. Again, I don't want to spend too much time analyzing this sentence. I just want to show you as an example for when you see this and read it, that you start to understand, okay, there's a lot of information in these auxiliary verbs beyond just, subject verb agreement. Okay, let me see. Do I have more examples about principle 2? Yes, I did. Oh, we did that. Great. Okay, any questions about principle 2? We did this. We did this. She did not tell me that she was going to call you. We have lived here for 2 years. Oh yeah, this is kind of like your question, Andre, but instead of the future, I was giving an example here about the past, right? Or in the present perfect. We have lived here for 2 years. This started in the past, is still happening now, right? There's a whole tutorial about, how can I explain this?
This is complex sentence or not?
You now. That's coming up in which one?
No, like this one. We have lived here for 2 years. I ask you a question. Yep. How did we know this is complete sentence? Like there was a start, continue, 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 and end. So that's my major question. For some reason, I understand continuous is the time where the time continues. So it has no end.
Got it.
But in this sentence, we have past, it continues for 2 years, but it still continues. Am I right?
Correct. Yes, you are correct.
So how?
So your question is, I think that's
how correctly this sentence is called?
This is the present perfect tense, and I can't get into why English evolved the way that it did, because there's no one true answer for that. But I understand, I think in your question, I hear we have lived in the past participle, right? Lived is in the past. So why would I use the past participle to describe something that is still true right now in the present, right?
Yes.
I don't have a good answer for you. There is no good answer. The only thing that's kind of a decent answer is, well, have is in the present tense. And that's why I'm talking about the auxiliary so much, because have, even though we can, I was going to say we can debate, but yeah, I think the perfect tenses in English are way more difficult. It's not worth it. Like many languages get over this with much, like Sapita was saying, with just time words, right? even in Chinese, very famously, you don't even need to conjugate verbs. You can just say go yesterday. That's the past tense. You can just say go tomorrow. That's the future tense. You can just say go. That's the present tense. So I think you're right, Andre. Have lived, to talk about something that's still true in the present, is strange, but have being in the present tense is important information, whether we like this verb tense or not. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know, but have lived. So this is my present sentence.
Correct. Present perfect.
But we have
Now
lived.
have lived. Now again, we're going to get a whole tutorial about the different. What I'm teaching you is right now. What I'm teaching you is how English verbs work, how the grammar of English verbs work in real life. What your question, I think, there's an important part of your question also is, but how do I know which verb tense to use and when? And that question gets its own tutorial. Okay, so save that, right? Save for how do I use this and when and where, because that's coming up in, I don't know, after clauses, I think. But right now, what I'm trying to help you guys see is, like I said, to think about modals and auxiliaries in a different way so that you start to see, oh, it's not just, like I said, it's not just memorize rule. How can I say this? You don't just need to memorize, like, there's 12 tenses in English, right? So it's not like, oh, memorize 12 different rules to make the 12 different tenses. It's understand that these auxiliaries and the verbs get marked, get coded, get changed to give the reader or the listener very specific information, right? And I think when you start to think about verbs that way, it makes learning how to use the different tenses much easier, much easier. And I've talked way too much. I've made this, I think, more complicated than it needs to be, because if you're sitting there going, oh my God, Jeff, stop talking, you're right. But but like I said, if all you remember from this first, 45 minutes of class is auxiliaries can mark singular or plural, tense and ing or the perfect aspect. That's it. That's the most important thing to remember. That's the
So
most
that
important
means
thing to
this
remember.
is past participle to continue.
Which one?
We have lived here for 2
Wait,
years.
yeah, where's the past participle in that sentence, Circle M?
Because lived is past and then have is still.
Present.
You are 100% correct. Lived is the past participle. And if you studied this last semester, I don't know, but again, when we get to the tutorial on the present perfect, the rule for the present perfect is have present in the present tense plus the past participle. That's right. Now, again, that's exactly correct, Circle M. That's exactly correct. So what I experience when I teach this class is when we start to study the different verb tenses and I say, okay, well, have is the auxiliary and you conjugate the auxiliary for singular or plural, I really think if you've never focused on these principles of the verbs, if you've never understood or tried to understand how all the different auxiliaries in English can be changed for lots of information, it's kind of like, wait, I have to learn these different rules for each verb tense. Well, not really, right? Like some different verb tenses have different auxiliaries, but if you understand, oh, well, with this verb tense, I need to conjugate the auxiliary for tense only. Great. Or, oh, in this verb tense, I have to remember that I conjugate the auxiliary for singular or plural. Present perfect is like that, right? I have, you have, but she has, he has, it has, right? We have to conjugate the auxiliary have for singular or plural in the present perfect tense. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And that's it. And that's why when we get this language, when we start to understand describing verbs in this way, then we can use these principles for every single verb tense that we're going to study a few weeks from now, right? Okay. Principle 3. This is the one that is painful, and I'm sorry, but it's life. Not everything that looks like a verb functions as a verb in a sentence. So this includes things like auxiliaries look like verbs, but they're not really verbs. Infinitive forms look like verbs, but they're not really verbs. The present participle, the past participle might look like verbs. So if you look at this example sentence, this was in the book. Americans hate trash. Okay, Americans is our subject, hate is the verb, trash is the object. Easy, we love this clause. Wonderful, 3 words, subject, verb, object, what a dream. Then we get a comma and a transition, so much so that some American lawmakers want, and then we get to pay other countries to take our trash so we don't have to deal with it.
Infinitive.
Now, exactly right. So what happens is, again, so many students, you guys learn the rules very well, and then you see a sentence that doesn't actually fit these rules. It's why I hate most ESL textbooks for grammar. So for example, whatever. I don't know why this was my sentence, but what's the verb in this very short, much less complicated sentence than this one above here? I want to go to China, forgive me.
Want is the to go is infinitive.
Yep. That's right. So then I'll ask this question again. This, in this sentence, remember, context is everything. In this sentence, is this a verb?
No.
Thank you. I was going to say, shake your head, say no. No, this is not a verb. And why? If you're going, oh my God, Jeff, I hate life. Okay, I understand. But why? What's the #1 rule of verbs that I talked about starting the 2nd week? And I'll say 10 more times every class if we need to. All verbs must have a subject, right? And to go has no subject because hopefully it's obvious, right? I am the subject. Want is the verb. And then we're going to talk about phrases here. This whole thing, I want to go to China. What is this really acting like in the sentence?
Object.
Noun phrase.
Yes. Because we could do this, right? We could just say, I want something. This is basically like an object. It functions like, we're going to talk about this in more detail, but in the sentence, it acts like, it functions like an object noun phrase, right? It's the thing that I want. It's the thing that I want. Makes sense, even though it's scary? Okay. We'll look at some more examples here. Now, you use infinitives after certain verbs and INGs after certain verbs. And I'll show you right now in Canvas. So for people who are watching the recording, go to Canvas. But if you're with me, you can watch where I'm going here. If you go to the home page, and if you go to Professor Jeff's course materials. Oh, my video, I clicked the wrong thing, forgive me. What did I do there? I think I have a bad link. Hold on. I think I need to go to pages. Forgive me. I was trying to show you where to find this and then it's not even there. I need to fix this after class for you guys. Weird. Okay, yeah, I need to fix the link. I'm sorry about that. But when you go to course materials on the homepage, you'll see I have practice for you guys. I don't make you buy any other books aside from Language Power. But if you go here, Grammar and Beyond 3, gerunds versus infinitives. This is one of the hardest things for language learners, you guys. And just give yourself years, be patient. This is so hard because as I say here, right, there are all these forms of they look like verbs, right? They look like verbs. It's a verb with an ing, or it's got a to in front of it, to go, to visit, to be, whatever. It looks like a verb, but we're not sure if we need an infinitive or an ing. This, where it says Grammar and Beyond 3, gerunds versus infinitives, if you click this link, you can download. Make sure my technology is working here. Okay, good. This is just more practice, more rules, more practice if you want specifically to practice gerund, ing versus infinitive, right? It's a lot. It's why I don't make you do it for homework or anything, but it's there for you if this is something that you have a hard time with, because I know it's hard. It's hard. Let me go back to my PowerPoint here. I think I've got some practice on the next slide. Hold on. So for example, oops. Let's just do some of these examples together. I've got some of the answers already in here, but let's see if we can do some of these together. So this first one, this is also from LPT2, but we're just practicing, is it a verb or is it just something that looks like a verb, right? Because that's this principle. Not everything that looks like a verb is a verb. So nonetheless, I'll tell you right now, by the way, that's a sentence adverb. You put it at the beginning of the sentence and it modifies everything else that comes after it. And these type of sentence adverbials are also what I was talking about when I said, right, introductory elements, like we talked about earlier in the semester. So nonetheless, I found myself dangling my legs over the side of a dumpster as I slowly tried to lower my feet inside. Where's our first verb?
Found.
Found.
And where's our subject then for that verb?
I.
Right.
Good. This is our subject.
No.
Now, what's going on after our verb? We've got stuff that looks like verbs.
Dangling.
I see some INGs. What's
Right.
going
Dangling.
on?
Dangling, gerund.
Adjective. Dangling is a verb-like form.
If dangling is a verb, is there a subject for this verb?
No.
Adjective, I think.
But how about my leg? My legs? No.
My legs is a noun, that's right, but that would come after the verb, and this isn't a question or one of those weird examples where the subject comes after the verb, right?
No, myself, it could
Right.
be pronunciation. Yeah.
Yeah, myself is a reflexive pronoun, so
Pronoun.
it could be a it could be a pronoun. Myself dangling my legs over the side of a dumpster. And the other test we can do is do this. So just like on this previous slide where I showed you, okay, if you've got you've found the main verb, right? You've identified the main verb. You've got something that looks like a verb after it, but we need to ask ourselves, can we do this something test, right? Can we replace the whole phrase with one word? That's another good test to do for yourself. So can we do that with any of these phrases after the verb? So I found myself dangling my legs over the side of a dumpster as I slowly tried to lower my feet inside. I'll tell you right now,
When.
as is a conjunction, and this is a whole other clause, right? So
Try this word.
Right verb.
tried is a verb.
I.
And notice, thank you. I was going to say, perfect. Thank you, Andre. With that one, we get the subject repeated. Absolutely. So how about
Slowly is adjective or adverb? Adjective, probably.
what do you guys think? Adjective or adverb?
Adjective.
Adverb.
Adjective.
Adverb.
Yep. Adverb describes the trying. How did I try? I tried slowly. I slowly tried. And that's one of those examples where the ly is a big clue. But how about this first clause again? I found myself dangling my legs over the side of a dumpster. Can we do the something test with any of these words?
No. We can change this whole sentence into one word. I found something.
Yes, that's exactly what I wanted.
Yeah.
And that's Andre's exactly right. So again, I'm not going to test you on this, but I want you to start to see words this way. If we can replace this whole thing, if we can treat this like an object noun phrase, right? If we can replace that whole phrase with something, it can't be a verb. It can't be a clause. So myself dangling is an example of, like I say up here, that means it looks like a verb, but it's got ing on the end. It's in the present participle form, right? Circulum was already talking about the past participle. That means the ed, right, at the end. And when we use things like I am talking, talking is, you know, the verb. It's still the main verb in its present participle form. So present participle really just means ing, right? So here, dangling is a present participle. It's not a verb, right? How about this one? As I slowly tried to lower my feet inside.
Infinitive.
We could do the same. As I slowly tried
Yeah,
something,
object.
exactly. And to lower is the infinitive, right? Sandy, I see your hand. Let's go.
Hi, I have a question about non-slice. Why it is other verb?
About nonetheless,
Yes.
it is an adverb because it's just like, the short answer is it's an adverb because this one word modifies the action of the entire sentence. And it's the same thing as saying this, Sandy.
Exactly. Lincoln
What
Park.
part of speech is yesterday, Sandy?
Adverb.
I don't know.
Adverb.
It's an adverb. And we could
So,
do the same
okay.
thing.
If like sometimes something, I mean,
Remember, oh, go ahead, Cindy, go ahead.
yeah, go ahead. Sorry. You go ahead.
Well, one reason that adverbs are really hard for students when they're writing long sentences is adverbs can move around the sentence, right? Many English parts of speech cannot. Like I said, the verb can never be at the end of the sentence. The subject almost always has to come before the verb. So word order is very strict in English, except adverbs move all around the sentence. And especially with academic writing, people love to put words like nevertheless, therefore, however, unfortunately, whatever, at the beginning of the sentence and then stick a comma on it. But that's, unfortunately, is a good example. Now we've got two adverbs in this sentence. Yesterday is still an adverb. It's modifying. It tells me when the action, when I was feeling. And unfortunately, it's at the beginning of the sentence. It's got an ly, and it's modifying all of the information that comes after it in this sentence, right? So like I said, the most common introductory elements that come before the noun in a sentence, especially at college level, is going to be a prepositional phrase, right? In the last 2 months, comma, by next year, comma, under the car, whatever, okay? Or these sentence adverbials, a time word, yesterday, or however, unfortunately. There's all these examples of sentence adverbials that come before the subject in the sentence. Does that make a little more sense, Sandy?
Yeah, I understand part of that. If the example is in last year, it in last year it is present preposition phrase. It is but it is not other verb. But other verb is speech part of speech.
Yes.
I mean, oh.
Although I
see.
mean, it's interesting. Although, how about this example?
Conjunction.
2 years ago, comma, I bought a car. We don't need to worry about this too much because it's a little scary, but we don't talk about this intentionally. This is called an adverbial phrase, Cindy, and I don't talk about this too much in this class because it's scary. Adverbial phrases are really weird because, like I said, adverbs are one of the very few parts of speech in English that can move around the sentence. That means adverbial phrases can move all around the sentence and can make life very strange. So what can I say about this? So it's again why I don't like to do a grammar class by like giving you tests and saying like, is this an adverb or is this an adverbial phrase or a prepositional phrase? I don't think that it's helpful to teach that way. But also, if you feel comfortable, Sandy, starting a sentence with 2 years ago or last year or last week, keep doing that, right? Keep writing your sentences that way, and don't stress too much about, is that a prepositional phrase or an adverbial phrase? You don't need to worry about it too much, unless you want to get a PhD in linguistics. You know what I mean?
Quick question here, sir.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, what? I heard someone else. I'm sorry. Let me make my screen big. Yes, who had a question?
Yes, sir. Sir, which one is
Yeah.
which one is more professional to use? Like according to structure, yesterday, since it's an adverb of time, it should be at the end of the sentence. Or if you bring it yesterday at the beginning of the sentence, which one is more professional to use it? Yesterday at the beginning or at the end?
I think that, well, you say professional, that makes me think about jobs. So I don't know about professional, but certainly at the college level, yesterday at the beginning of the sentence to me is much more common because, like I said, the reason that I talked about introductory elements so much while I was talking about subjects is college textbooks and essays that you write for college. Man, we love these we love sentence adverbials at the beginning and then a comma. I mean, go pick up one of your textbooks for another class. I promise you're going to start to notice, unfortunately, comma, or last year, comma, yesterday, comma, 30 years ago, comma. It's so common to put these at the beginning of the sentence in college writing. And I don't know why or how that happened. So I would say if you're thinking about college, like school or professional, sort of like academic elite English, really common to put it at the beginning of the sentence.
Okay, but the structure, but the structure says it should be at the answer, right?
No, because it's an adverb structure for adverbs. They can go anywhere. I mean, the adverb, the grammar, the structure is perfect in both of them. Your question is kind of just one about style or tone or who your intended audience is. So like I said, if you ask me, Jeff, I want to appear very professional in a work situation, I'd put the adverb at the beginning of the sentence and then a comma. I'd put yesterday, comma, we went to the store and da 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 da. And again, I'm not saying that's right. I'm not saying it actually is more professional. I'm just saying the way that the language gets used in work and in school, for whatever reason, it's much more common to put those adverbs at the beginning of the sentence.
Okay, sir, I appreciate it. As you said, adverb can move around everywhere.
Big time, big time. Adverbs, it's another reason I think students love the LY rule. Students are like, okay, adverbs start with LY. Yes, I can memorize that. That's easy. But again, I'm really being mean to ESL textbooks today, but one reason I hate that is that's not true. There are tons of adverbs that don't end in LY. And I think that if we teach you, oh, look for LY words, those are the adverbs, that's missing half of the way we actually use adverbs because they move around the sentence so much. Like one really unique feature about what defines an adverb in English is it can move around. Other parts of speech can't move around, right? You can't put an adjective at the beginning of the sentence and then a comma. You can't put sunny, comma, the weather was yesterday. You can't do that. But for whatever reason, adverbs, they move around all over the place. Like I said, I think that's a sort of very important feature of adverbs.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Okay, I'm done. Now I'm getting too excited. I'm talking about grammar and I'm getting too happy and too excited. Let me make this a little smaller. Let's practice another one. This is also examples from LPT2. So how about, I'm just gonna delete this one. How about this one? We'll do this one together. Just, is it a verb or does it look like a verb? I tried to slide my hand about 6 inches to the left to get a better grip, but stopped when my fingers touched some kind of cold pink frosting. I went to the store and talked to a friend. I need to delete this. Where are our, you know what I'm going to ask first? Where's our verbs?
Try.
Then we've got a lot going on, huh?
cut.
And then what's going on? Where's our next verb or verb-like thing?
To
get.
slide is infinitive.
Good. And then what do we got? To slide my hand about 6 inches to
To
the
get-
left. Don't
To
be
get
don't.
infinity.
Yep, good. To get. Thank you very much, Shu.
The platform stop.
Yes. And what's this? Stopped.
Adjective.
Mm.
It's verb.
Passive.
It's
Past participle. Past participle.
Past tense, yeah.
It
yeah,
is a
it's
verb.
verb, past tense verb.
Yes.
Past
And it,
participle.
but it can't, if it, I love it, Hugh, thank you. And I'm thinking of Circulem's good questions about the present perfect tense. So it does look, it could, okay, it's an ED. So that means it could be the simple past tense or it could be the past participle. If it were the past participle, though,
Passive.
it would need an auxiliary, right? Like this is where, again, when we think about English this way, it kind of helps make things easier, right? Okay, this has to be simple past or past participle. If it's the past participle, it needs the auxiliary verb. Do we see an auxiliary verb?
No.
No, so it's got to be a real verb, right? It's got to be the actual verb form of the sent or of stop. Now here's the scary question in this example. What's the subject for this verb?
No
I.
one.
Hey, who said I? Did you say I?
I.
And I already deleted this note, but this is a thing that you don't see all the time. But again, if you keep going, if you're going to get your associates or your bachelor's, you will definitely see this. English can have compound verbs. That means one subject, I, one verb, and then the conjunction, a conjunction, some kind of conjunction, usually and, or, to be honest with you, and then another verb. So I swim and jump every day. I don't know why that was my weird example, but whatever, right? I eat, I cook and clean every day, right? Here I've got I as the subject, cook is the verb, and is a conjunction, clean is another verb that goes back to the same subject. So this is something called compound verbs. I'm never going to test you on it. It doesn't matter if you want to try it to use it in your own writing or not. It's not going to be a part of grammar writing. It's just to show you, this sentence is to show you that test that I just had you guys do, right? Okay, stopped. That's got to be the simple past or the past participle. How do I know if it's the past participle? It has to have an auxiliary verb. Is there an auxiliary verb? No, there is not. It must be the simple past tense of the verb. Does that make sense?
Right, yeah.
Yes.
And like I said, anyway, I love this class.
No,
I love
I have a
talking
question.
about.
I have a
Please,
question.
Andrew.
Sorry for my slowly mind, but so this is a subject for these both sentences. I tried and I stopped.
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So English compound verbs, it means one subject, two verbs
Mm-hmm.
connected by a conjunction.
Mm-hmm. Okay, understand.
And like I said, my much simpler sentences that I just said out loud. I cook and clean every day.
Sir, I have a question.
I'm ready.
Sir, if we use one of the auxiliary verbs at the beginning with a try, like I have tried, then should we use another have here at the second verb or no? And does the sentence
No, and that's a different rule that you're talking about, and that is so important for college writing. That'd be so I have tried and have succeeded, right? That I don't know why, again, that was what came to my mind. I have tried and have succeeded. Here you don't need have, and that's because of something called, again, Google parallel structure. If the verb tense doesn't change, then you don't need to repeat the auxiliary verb. You just use the past participle form of the verb because the subject is the same, so the auxiliary would be the same. And that's because of this thing in English writing especially called parallel structure. And like I said, this is not to be tested on. This is, if you're interested in this or want more info, you can Google it and see some examples. Such good questions, you guys. Oh my God, such good questions.
Okay, Jeff, I have another question. Why can we do it like I tried to slide something to do phrases, like unite this whole sentence into one word? Like I tried to slide something, but stopped because something began.
I tried to slide my hand about 6 inches to the left to get a good grip, but stop. Why can we do it? That's like a philosophical question, I feel like, Andre. I can't give you the philosophical answer, but I can tell you grammatically why. The reason why you can do that here is I've got a conjunction, but.
Because you have but.
And like I said, yes, a compound verb. For a compound verb, like I said, what defines a compound verb is one subject with two verbs connected by a conjunction. Here, that conjunction is but. Now, I'm going to duplicate the slide because actually this is a good way to talk about another thing that we need to introduce today here before we're almost, well, we've got 15 minutes or so.
Because in previous
and I want to show
slide,
you this too, though.
Because like I said, in previous slide, we're trying to understand why it's important to find this, to combine this whole sentence into one word.
Yeah, well, that's slightly different test, right? If you're trying to test, is it a verb or not a verb? One good test to do that is, can I replace the entire phrase with a pronoun? If I can replace the entire phrase with a pronoun, it can't have a verb in it, right? Because if it's, especially if it's an object pronoun, forgive me, let me be more specific. If you could replace the whole phrase with an object pronoun, it, something, then that means there's no verb and there's no subject in there, right? So that's one thing. But your question is actually, is there a difference? Now, this is a way to transition. I want to make sure I introduce phrases and clauses here at the end. This is really important. So here's my question. I tried to slide my hand about 6 inches to the left to get a better grip, but stopped when my fingers touched some kind of cold pink frosting. And you could say that the grammar is fine. We've analyzed it correctly, right? We have one subject and two verbs. Now, I tried to slide my hand about 6 inches to the left to get a better grip, comma, but I stopped when my fingers touched some kind of cold pink frosting. Is the grammar in this sentence okay?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, it is. And now here's the difference, though. How many subjects do I have in this sentence?
Two.
And how many verbs?
Three.
Well, if I have, well, let's find out.
2, 3.
Where's the third verb then? If you think there's three verbs, where's the third?
Touched.
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 Yeah, you're right. I agree. And if touched is the verb, where's the subject?
My fingers.
My fingers.
My fingers.
Oh my God, this class, I love you. You guys are great. So here's what I'm introducing now, and we're going to spend a lot more time on, and you're going to get to read in LPT3, or maybe you already did if you're getting ahead of the game, I don't know. So the difference here, like Andre was saying, why can I do this? It's about what words you choose to include in your sentences, of course, but it also has to do with with phrases and clauses. So here's a rule, like an always rule. A clause in English has a subject
A verb.
and a verb. So if there is a subject and a verb, it is a clause. I can't stress this enough. So this, with just this one rule, if it is a subject and a verb, it's a clause. How many clauses are in this sentence right here?
2 clause.
3.
Three clause.
Three clauses.
Thank you. Right, because we have 3
Yes,
verbs and
3.
3 subjects. Absolutely. Absolutely. So this sentence has 3 clauses. Now, sentences are made up of clauses. Some sentences can just be one clause. I like pizza. I am the subject, like is the verb, pizza is the object. One clause, one sentence, one clause. But obviously in this example here, we have one sentence, 3 clauses, right? Now again, Andre's sort of excellent question that is part about how does this actually work, and partly is philosophical, right? Because grammar in all languages are just kind of made up rules that a lot of people agreed with over a long period of time, right? So why or how is, above my pay grade. But how does it actually work? We can talk about, right? So what's happening here is but and when, right? So we can put all of these clauses, we can put these 3 clauses into one sentence because we have conjunctions, right? And in LPT 3, we're going to start to talk about coordinating conjunctions and subordinating conjunctions. Now, remember, just like all modals are auxiliaries, but not all auxiliaries are modals, we have the same thing with conjunctions, right? So for example, I need to make your faces smaller. Now, I like pizza, one sentence, one clause. I like pizza and whatever. My brain is shutting down. How many clauses in this short little sentence? I like pizza and water. How many verbs?
Only
One verb.
One verb.
Good.
one
verb,
clause,
one
sentence.
subject, one clause. Absolutely. So in this case, and
Conjunction.
Conjunction.
yes, and is a conjunction, but it's not a coordinating conjunction. It's not a subordinating conjunction. It's just a conjunction. The rule that we're going to start to really practice next week is now, how many clauses?
2.
Two clauses. One
And
sentence, 2 clauses.
and good. And in this case, and is
Coordinate.
is a coordinating conjunction. And this is the rule that I want to get into your brain today. Conjunctions are very powerful function words, and they have a lot of power over English sentences because not just for meaning, but for things like punctuation. Notice on this first sentence, I tried to slide my hand about 6 inches to get a better grip, but stopped. There's no comma here, right? We just go straight to but and stop. And this sentence came from the textbook, right? This is a perfectly grammatical text. In the second sentence, when I add a second subject, now notice all of a sudden, Sandy, I see your hand, I need the comma, because here but becomes a coordinating conjunction, not just a regular conjunction. And because it's a coordinating conjunction, the punctuation of the sentence has to change. So when you start to review LPT3, when you start to look at the different clauses, phrases, and sentence types, when you start to think about complex sentences, compound sentences, I really want you to understand that these conjunctions are very powerful. They are really, really important, and they are connected to the subjects and the verbs, right? So this course is designed the way it is for a specific reason. You've got to have a clear idea about subjects and verbs before you can even start to think about the conjunctions, though, right? Because whether or not a conjunction is a coordinating conjunction or just a regular conjunction depends on what? In this sentence, how many subjects, right? Do I have one subject and a compound verb? Do I have 2 subjects and 2 verbs? These are really, really important things to understand so that you don't have to guess about where to put conjunctions and commas. Sandy, I see your hand. Please go ahead.
Hi, Professor. I have a question about those two sentences.
Ready?
Do they mean
Let's do it.
exactly same? Because in first sentence, we use one, my fingers, something, something. But the one used to explain two verb, like tried and stopped. In second sentence, one only followed by a stop. So the one used to explain the stopped. So do my understanding correct? Yeah.
Wait. Well, what is your understanding that they are the same or that they're different?
My understanding is they are different, special for that one something they explain. I mean, yeah, my understanding is they are
I would
different.
say different grammar or different meaning.
A different meaning. But
Same exact meaning.
you think it's exactly meaning. I just don't understand the one.
I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know it. Well, I don't know about same exact meaning, of course, because if you are imagine that you are the writer, right? You are the author. Imagine that you're writing this in an essay or a book, right? Okay, the choices that you make as the author are for this is like questions about what's more professional and stuff like that. Those choices you're making are about style and tone and some of those really like kind of almost artistic choices, right? But really in terms of the meaning you're communicating to the reader, I think the difference is like 1%. I think the difference in meaning is like that. I think it's almost exactly the same meaning. Now, of course, like I said, why am I using these two example sentences? The grammar is very different. Do you need a comma or not need a comma? Do you have another subject or not have another subject? Is that a conjunction or a coordinating conjunction or a subordinating conjunction, right? The grammar is going to change, but the meaning, I think it's basically the same.
Okay, I understand.
Yeah. Such a good question. Such a good question.
I have a question. Yeah,
Please, circle them.
this one is one of our quiz example.
Yes, because exactly this is all I did for that. Again, a quiz, but yeah, it's that exact activity that Professor Ferris has in the book. She has an activity in the book, and all I did was put it onto Canvas so that you could practice it, because I think it's really helpful to practice some of the activities in
I
the book.
did like my two attempted. So can I do one more because first one
Yeah, do I need to open it up? I'll be doing a lot of grading this weekend. So you'll get lots more information about points this weekend. Yeah, do I need to change the number of attempts for that quiz, Circulem? Is 2 the max?
yeah,
Hold
because
on.
the first one is the time run out and the second one I used again.
Oh, time. Ooh. Is it LPT2? Which one is it? 10 or 11? I don't remember.
I think 6 or 7.
Oh, I thought this was from LPT2. Keep 2 attempts. Okay, it's this one. Let me change this. And then let me look at lesson 11 as well, Circulem. So yeah, go ahead and you can do this one as many times as you want. And like I said, I will, it shouldn't be timed though. And I'll look at these this weekend. Time limit, no time limit. I don't know what was going on with it. Okay, I changed it to 5. If you need more than 5, we can change it again. It's all good.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. We already did the, okay, we just did this. I'm just checking the time and I want to talk about one more thing, I think, before we get out of here. Ah, yes. Okay, this is exactly it. We're almost there. Okay, so I just wanted to say, we'll look at a couple more examples. So if you've got a question, please save it for the end. We're almost there. But I just wanted to show not everything that looks like a verb is a verb. I think that's clear. You guys understand. But when I start to give you guys feedback on your essays or your writing and give you, corrections, I'm just going to say some things like this, right? So in infinitive, INF, present participle or pres P, PP, past participle, past P. What I mean when I say infinitive means to and the base form, right? So go is the base form, to go is the infinitive. Eat is the base form, to eat is the infinitive. Present participle just means, like I said a minute ago, but I want to put the slide for people to see in writing, is the base form plus ing, right? Talk becomes talking, walk becomes walking, give becomes giving, right? The spelling might change, but you still have the base form plus ing. Now we're talking present participle. Past participle, like Circulem's great comment earlier in this class, is the verb plus the ed, or of course, many an ESL textbook with swim, swam, swum. So you might have an irregular past tense and an irregular past participle. But many of the verbs in English, the past participle is just the verb plus ed. And then there are auxiliary verbs. And in English, to make verb tenses especially, really the only auxiliary verb forms. Now remember, I'm not talking about should and would and all that stuff. Be, have, and I think I'm missing one here because we also need to say can. Right? I could go, I can go. These are the verbs that they can be a regular base form verb, but we use them as auxiliary verbs if we want to talk about tense or possibility or those type of things, right? So if I leave a comment and let's say that you identify something in one of your sentences and you say, Jeff, this is a verb. And then I take a comment or I leave you a voice recording in the grade and I say, actually, this is a present participle. I want you to know that that means verb plus ing, right? Or if I say, actually, this is the past participle, that I want to make sure that this is clear, that that's what I'm talking about. Does this make sense?
Yes.
Okay. I know now, like I said with Zoom, usually silence means everything's okay. Okay, now we're this idea that I introduced very quickly, and you're going to get a lot more practice with for LPT3 of clauses, phrases, coordinators, and all that stuff. These were examples from the first writing assignment that people submitted today. So I thought we could just do this really quickly to end. So let's do the same thing that I asked you to do for grammar writing 1. So my family moved to the United States 3 years ago. What is the subject of this sentence?
My family.
Good. And if I said I love it. Yeah, I'm saying you can only choose one word. What's the one word?
Family.
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 So what's the verb?
Moved.
Moved.
Move.
And how about let's just do some parts of speech. What part of speech is my?
Pronoun.
Pronoun.
Determiner. Determiner.
You good. We're gonna get more practice about possessive pronoun versus possessive determiner. That's the difference between my and mine. Okay, those are different. So we will talk about that more. But my is a determiner. Mine is a pronoun. My is a determiner. Family. What part of speech?
No.
Noun.
We already said moved is a verb.
Verb.
What part of speech is to?
Preposition.
Preposition.
You. What part of speech is the?
Determine.
Article, determiner.
Article.
All articles are determiners. And we could do the rest, right? United. I'm going to call it an adjective. States.
States.
I'm going to call
Adjective too.
noun.
Noun. Okay.
Free. Let's leave it there. Now, phrase.
My family.
Identify a phrase. Good. What phrase is that?
3 years. 3 years ago.
Noun
3 years
phrase.
ago.
Noun phrase.
Noun phrase.
Noun phrase.
In fact, the subject noun phrase. That's right. So now how many, we have one subject and one verb, right? So that means how many clauses?
One clause.
One clauses.
Good. Now, this will be the last thing we do, and this will get you ready for the next LPT3. How about in this sentence? Let's just do subjects and verbs. It wasn't easy for me, comma, but I tried my best to understand and speak more with people. How many verbs?
2.
True.
What
Three.
are they?
Tried.
Wasn't.
Let's go in order.
Try.
What's the first verb in this sentence?
Was.
Was.
Good. We have not for negation. The student wrote the contraction. That's fine. No big deal. But was is the verb. It
Tried.
wasn't easy for me, comma, but where's the
Try
next
it.
verb?
Try it.
Tried.
Agree?
And speak.
Speak.
No, it's infinity to understand and to speak. Infinity.
I
Speak
agree.
is-
Infinitive. And this is that great example. I forget whose question that was, Andres. I don't remember, but of parallel structure, right? We don't
Yeah,
need
yeah,
to
yeah.
say the two again because we already have the two up here. So I tried, and we could say that this whole thing passes the something test and functions like the object NP. Okay. So again, it doesn't really matter, but we have two verbs, we have two subjects. So one clause, two sentences.
One sentence, two.
Thank you. Oh my God, Hugh, thank you.
Two clause.
I told you I'm getting tired. Too much Zoom today. One sentence, two clauses. So that means this is our conjunction. So is this a regular conjunction? or
The
is this a-
coordinating
Coordinating.
sentence.
Now, what we're going to find out is, what we're going to start to find out when you read LPT3 is it coordinating or subordinating? And if you haven't read LP3T, don't know what these words mean, don't worry at all, okay? Coordinating or subordinating, and compound or complex sentence. This is what we're going to practice in LPT3. Okay, so even if you're a little still confused about conjunctions, and if you're still confused about complex and compound sentences, that's totally fine. Okay, that's totally fine. But what I really hope that you are clear about after today is identifying subjects and verbs. And this is the number one rule to remember, right? If it's a subject and a verb, it's got to be a clause. So you can have a long sentence, one huge, massive sentence with, three clauses and three subjects, three verbs. That's fine. But you have to start to understand that when you have one sentence with lots of different clauses, you've got a lot of different grammar rules going on. And that's what LPT3 is all about. It's all about phrases, clauses, and sentence types. And this is where some of these small details that we've been studying for the last 3 weeks really come alive and really start to help students write longer and more interesting sentences. So are there any questions right now about clauses and about just that, like this idea I'm introducing before you get much more practice with it?
Sir, conjunction always can be used before a subject.
Subject. So in a complex or a compound sentence, the conjunction will come before the subject. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And we'll see much more. That's a great question. Keep that question in mind when you watch the video for LPT3, when you read LPT3, because that is an important rule that you just asked. And you're right, though. For the second clause, right, like in this example sentence, it wasn't easy for me, comma, but I tried. Yeah, the conjunction this conjunction that comes after clause 1, it must come before the subject of clause 2. That's an always rule, I can say. Yes.
Okay.
Great question. Great question. Really good question. Cool. Any other questions? Cool. Yeah, please.
Yeah,
Can I hear a voice?
for our grammar, for our assignment, did you ask close?
Yes.
What?
No. No. I really, I sometimes I do, sometimes I don't, but I think what I'm saying, we are kind of going slow, not in a bad way. So I'm not saying that because you guys aren't understanding it, you are. I think we're just going a little bit slower, and I I don't like to move on to clauses and phrases and sentence types until people feel really good with the parts of speech, right? We start with parts of speech because you have to, like I said, I've said this over and over again, but I really want you guys to see the relationship between the words in a sentence. And once you see how words work together, like I said, what happens is the whole language kind of opens up, especially for writing, right? Like you really start to see how sentences get made. So we didn't do clauses yet. You didn't miss anything.
Thank you.
Of course. So like you see on the slide here, I'm not adding any new lessons to Canvas. People are still catching up. So I strongly invite you to finish all the lessons that you haven't finished, because we're going to really start to hit clauses hard next week. Okay, so I will publish the YouTube recording that I have for LPT3. If you're done with everything and you want to go fast, read tutorial 3, watch my video for tutorial 3. It will help you get ready for those lessons, but I'm not going to post any new lessons in Canvas. The other reason is because my goal, I should just say I have to do it, is I want to finish grading all of the first drafts for the grammar writing 1 by Sunday, right? So, and remember, after I give you the grade for grammar writing 1, you have 1 week, if you make mistakes, to revise and resubmit for a higher score. So if you're done with all the lessons, read LPT3 and wait for me to grade the first writing project, okay? If you're not done with those lessons, I hope you can use this time to do them, right? So there's no due dates, but I'm worried about a few people, if you're watching on the recording, who are very far behind. So if you've got 4 or 5 lessons to do them now. That's it. That's what's coming up. Any questions before we finish up? If no questions, get out of here, get some rest. You guys are great. And I'm really excited to read your grammar writing projects. I'm really excited to read them and grade them.
Thank you. Thank
Please
you very much,
no.
Professor.
What'd you say, Andre? Please go.
No, please no.
Oh yeah, please no. Jeff,
there
don't
is
be
a
excited.
there
Just
is a lot of
just leave them.
there's a
Well,
lot of mistakes.
well, if there are mistakes, I will tell you what they are, and you just get to fix them and get a higher grade. That's
Okay,
how we learn. We got
okay,
it.
I will. I have a
That's the whole
question
point.
before you go.
I'm ready.
Can we
Please.
just go back into these 2 sentences what we trying to figure out about 1 sentence, 3 no previous one.
Clauses, yeah.
Yeah, previous.
Yeah, sure. I think, which one? I think even a little higher up. Hold on.
Wow,
This one?
I have probably again stupid question, but I need to ask. So in the first sentence, we didn't add I like in a second one
Yep.
sentence. So
Correct.
but and when we can think like this is the commas, yes?
Yes.
So
You are going, yes, when you learn clauses, when you read LPT3, when you start to understand the different sentence types, it is going to help you with commas a lot, because the type of sentence and the type of clause is very important for, do I need a comma? Do I not need a comma? Where do I need the comma? Yes, you are correct, Andre.
but like I said, this is 2 same sentences, but they are not the same because of commas, like but and but. Why in the first sentence we didn't put comma, and the second one we put? This is because we add I like a second subject, or because?
The rule is that the answer is because you need a comma when you are using a coordinating conjunction to connect 2 independent clauses. Now, that might not make sense to you yet because you haven't read LPT3, but that's the short answer is you need a comma after the first clause before the coordinated conjunction when you're combining 2 independent clauses. Sometimes I can feel people's silence. Even on Zoom, I'm like, oh, I can feel you getting quiet in your house or wherever you are. So yeah, and that what I just said will make sense after you read LP23.
Sir, I
Okay?
have question.
Please, yeah.
I did the assignment, but today I was so busy I couldn't submit it. So can you accept the late? Because now I won't submit it.
I'm such a, yeah, just submit it as soon as you can.
Really? Thank
Yeah,
you.
of course.
Because I did it
Of
today.
course,
I
of
was
course.
busy with kids. So when I see it was not 3 o'clock, it was 3:30. Oh my God. I
I
was so
know,
sad.
I tried. Just
I'm sorry.
submit it as
Yeah.
soon as you can.
Yes. Thank
No,
you.
it's okay. It's okay. Life, I
Thank
understand.
you.
Excuse
I
me, can
understand.
I ask you a question too?
Okay.
So I did an assignment too, but I think that not correct. Can I make up a little bit later if it's possible?
Yeah, if you want, so there's a few ways to do it, right? So I'll probably start grading tomorrow and Friday. If you want to revise and resubmit before then, okay, or just wait, let me give you the first grade.
Yeah.
And then remember, after the first grade, you have 1 week to revise and resubmit with my feedback.
Oh,
So
good.
if you want to submit before I grade it, that's fine. If you want to wait until after I grade it, that's fine too.
Yeah, okay, I will wait for your grade.
Yeah.
Thank you so
Save it.
much.
Yeah, of course. Save your time and energy. Yeah. I
Yeah.
see, Sandy, I see your question too, but Bao, I see your little blue hand. What's up?
Yeah, I have a
Go first.
question
You go.
about.
Oh, okay, yeah. Well, Sandy's got a question about a sentence that might be kind of complex. So Bao, do you have a long question or short question?
About my homework, but I'm driving right now, so I'm asking like, if you available like to tell you tomorrow, I can ask you the question about the homework.
Sure. Yeah. And if it's about timing or anything, if you haven't, whatever, yeah, submit it whenever you've got it. If it's something else, yeah, do it. Send me a text or an email when you're not driving.
About writing assignment like due today, but me like I'm still confused about the assignment, so I want to ask. So I try to finish
Oh yeah.
tomorrow.
Okay. Yeah, yeah. Well, like I said, if submit it as soon as you can.
Okay. That's all.
Yeah. Sandy, yes, I saw you have a question about, I saw the sentence that you posted here. Let's see. So what's your question, Sandy?
So for the sentence before comma, I don't understand actually. Where is the verb?
There
I
isn't
don't.
one. Yeah,
So,
there
but
isn't
if
one.
if no verb, what I mean, what role it play? I mean, it's
So here,
what a phrase.
Yes, exactly. So you already have the most important thing for this class, Cindy. The most important thing is that you understand and you know that's a phrase, not a clause. That's the most important
Yes.
thing. Now, what type of phrase? That's an interesting and dense question. If I say, laid back and pretty woman not long out of college, I think that sentence is describing the subject. I think that is describing Christy, right? So Christy is a noun. All of these words together are coming together to modify this noun. So what do you think that phrase is acting like?
Adjective phrase.
Yeah, that's it.
Oh, I see.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's
got
it.
it. Thank you.
Yep, of course. Great question. Amanda, do I see your hand too? I see a few other people here. Please, yeah, jump in.
Okay. I'm just confusing about the pronoun. And example,
Yeah.
my teacher or my dad or my sister. And I put in the my is, I just learning about the pronoun myself. Then I learned this is my is possessive pronoun, and possessive pronoun
Yeah.
is two different. One is my is mine. They as that's I'm learning as other book, and they say mine is possessive pronoun. But when in the
Yes.
class you said my is determiner, and I just what is why they put this put in the
My
put the determiner why I just a little bit confused.
my is the determiner, mine is the pronoun, and these two examples will show you my backpack is expensive. Here, backpack is the noun and backpack is the subject, right? My is modifying the noun. It's not describing it like a big big backpack or fun backpack or whatever. It's like saying the backpack is expensive. A backpack is expensive. Some backpacks are expensive, but we can also use these possessive determiners. My backpack is expensive. Her backpack is expensive. Their backpack. So here, excuse me, my is a determiner. It can't be a pronoun because we already have a noun, right? The subject noun is backpack. But in this sentence, mine is expensive. Mine is the only word before the verb. It is also the subject pronoun, right? It's the subject pronoun. So this is an example of the possessive pronoun. And this is an example of possessive determiner. Does that make a little more sense?
Help.
Then okay, then just my, your, his, her is just describe as a pronoun, yeah.
Yes, the possessive pronouns
the subject,
are
yeah.
mine, hers, his, theirs, ours. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
That's why I put that's why grammar I put this determiner and also possessive pronoun, and I have to pick, I have to change, I have to
It's
fix it.
I think this difference between possessive pronoun, possessive determiner is one of the hardest. It's just hard. And it's all good. So and like I said, especially with grammar, you know, the only way we learn is from mistakes. So it's all good. It's all good.
Mhm. Thank you.
Of course, great question. Anybody else?
I have a quick question. Where
Sure.
can I
I do
get
have to
these
go.
presentations?
Yeah, I just want to make sure everybody. I do have to go at 6:30. My people who are still here. So just my warning. Tell me, Andre.
Quick question. Where can I take these presentations? All of it?
Oh yeah. So if you I hope the technology is working. If you go to our home page
Homepage.
and if you click on live support materials, that's where all of the PowerPoint and Zoom recordings are. So each date, I have the day, the link to the Zoom recording of our meeting, and the PowerPoint presentation for you to download.
Okay, understand. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, teacher.
Of course, my pleasure. Thank you for all your great ideas and questions. Thank you. Thank you.
That, that's all. So thank you.
That's it.
This is
If you're
this
leaving,
last one is reflection was we have to write 400 words, but I couldn't 400 words. It's too much.
I'll look at it. I'll look at it. I'll tell you what I think. I'll tell you what I think.
Then I just add it's 100 something. Then I said, okay, it's just I have to send FIFA deadline. Then I said, okay, maybe after that I will thinking about.
No, I'll look at it, of course. And if I think it's too short, I'll just say, hey, it's too short. Write some more, and I'll give you more points. So I'll look at it when I'm grading.
Okay. Okay.
All right.
Thank
Who
you.
else? Circulem.
Yeah,
Thank you, Circulem. Great questions today. Fantastic.
thank you. Thank you for you explaining. It's very good too. I understand.
Hey, I'm happy. It's hard, but I'm happy. Serge, Veronica, anybody? Like I said, I've got 6 minutes, so get your
Thank
questions in
you.
now. Oh yeah, thank you, Serge. Good to see you.
Yeah, bye.
Thank you. And
Have a good evening. Bye bye.
yeah.
You
Hi.
too. Have a great night.
Bye bye.